name is Consta Dinha, mostly known to you guys as Consta Dinha. I was, started playing rugby in 1986. For some people, I want to know what I'm Darachembiro. Which was, I grew up in Chiredzi, Hippo Valley, where I went to Hippo Valley State Primary School. That's where I started playing my rugby in 1986. Then went to Prince Edward. Mainly, when I was in primary school, it was just mainly rugby and swimming. Those are the sports that I was into. Then I came to high school, developed puberty, whatever you want to call it. Left the swimming and the cricket, started playing rugby and basketball. Those are the two sporting disciplines that I further took careers to after school. After school, I went to Spaces College after I left Prince Edward in 1996, where I could say that was my pinnacle of my rugby career, being coached by Ian Robertson, the late Springbok and world rugby player. I then did the course at Spaces College. You know how it is with the parents said you have to always have a back, like somewhere, a stepping stone, or either something that you can fall back to in case sport didn't become a career. In our era, sport was never really a career, so to say. It then became more apparent that one can build a sporting career. But I had the dilemma of being good at two sporting disciplines. So when I finished high school in 1996, in 97 I was selected to represent the Zimbabwe national team basketball in the Zone 6 Africa Cup qualifiers that were played at the Harare City Sports Center. Back then, I then played for the older Hararians under 21s. 1998, I was named Older Hararians Player of the Year, under 21 Player of the Year. I then graduated into the first team at Older Hararians. But I was still balancing both basketball and rugby, so I never really had an off season, so to speak of. Sometimes I would actually have 2 sessions in a day or 2 games on a Saturday. So you would find sometimes if I had the seasons overlapped, on a Saturday afternoon I would play a rugby match, and then on the Saturday evening I would play then a basketball match either at the University of Zimbabwe, because I used to play for Varsity Leopards. And that became the norm. I then made the decision in 2001 to be more inclined towards rugby, which then led me to making the decision to take more rugby. Approach rugby with a more serious intention than basketball, because I couldn't balance it out. I was burning out. And I made my breakthrough into the Older Hararians first team in 2001. We went to play Old Metonians in Bulawayo for the final, which we lost. And then came back in 2002. 2002, we won the national rugby championship, and then I was selected for my first national team cap in 2002, which we played in Bulawayo at Hartsfield against Namibia, which was the last time we ever beat Namibia. In 2002, that was the last time we beat Namibia, and that was my first national team cap. And I was, in that year, that's in the year I was named the Lion Lager Player of the Year. The following year, we had World Cup qualifiers. I was working for a company here in Zimbabwe called Cochrane Engineering with my then coach, Godwin Murambiwa. And so he got in a few players from abroad. One of them was an old-time friend called Phil Carter. he was living in Germany and playing rugby there. After we failed to qualify, we lost to Namibia, unfortunately, in the last qualifying game by a slight mishap, but nevertheless, he then told me their club was looking for players. If I was interested to come across to Germany, I could come across and try my luck, so to speak. They were very accommodating. They were still an amateur league, but had the funds to bring in foreign players to boost up their team, and were able to pay incentives or give you the odd job here at the club to make sure you make some pocket money. As you all know, during that period in time, Zimbabwe wasn't doing so well, so luckily I got a visa to go to Germany for this trial period for 3 months. And I actually was straightforward to my workplace, and I told them, guys, listen, this is the option that I have. I'm going to go. If I go and I like it after 3 months, as I had my leave days, I'll come back and let you know that I'm going back, and you can find someone else. Yeah. It all went well. I found myself in Germany for the next 10 years. Yeah, it was an eye-opener. I then also got a few other guys across there, the likes of Jeff Tigere, Edmo Takaendesa, and right now, the guys who are still there, like Manasa Sita. We've got the few youngsters, Josh Gando, Tafazo Stokwindo, and Antipas Kamkwindo. They are all also still in Germany through some contacts that I had made. It was a very competitive league, and they, just like the first world, ever since rugby was made an Olympic sport, you know how they all then start pumping money into the sport. So you'll find that the German league right now, we've got maybe 3 or 4 fully or semi-professional teams. And their league is very competitive. They bring in players from New Zealand, from Russia, the Eastern Bloc, Romania, and those like. So it's not as a walk in the park as people believe it to be. Rugby in Germany has gone big very quite fast. My time with the Sabres, when it started in 2002, it was an eye-opener, of course. My first game was that one in Bulawayo, where we beat Namibia. The second one that we played that year was against emerging Springboks. The likes, we were curtain raiser for France and the Springboks in Durban. And if I was to show you the team lists, we were Zimbabwe as a national team, and the emerging Springboks were called the South Africa under-23s. And we actually played against the likes of Bakis Botha, Victor Matthews, Freaky Welsh, and a lot of other very old-time Springboks. But from my experiences, if we had carried on playing such games, yes, we lost by a margin. But the margin that, if you look at the margin that we lost by to an emerging Springbok team, it was not as large as the margins that we're now losing to Namibia by. So back then we were actually competitive enough to play an emerging Springbok team. So yeah, I think mostly it's got, with like every other sport in Zimbabwe, it was affected negatively by the lack of corporate support. Corporate support comes when you have a functional or a very fruitful industry or economy. So we can't really point the blame to anyone to the reason why our level of rugby seemed to have gone down or our structures never held. I think like any sport, without financial backing, it will crumble. I started playing for the Sabres in 2002. I think I was made captain in when we went to Botswana in 2004, I think. 2004, 2006. 2006, that's when I made captain, I think, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of people don't really understand, or should I say, know the history of what it took to get us to winning the Victoria Cup and winning the Africa Cup. So when Zimbabwe failed to fulfill a fixture against Madagascar, I think it was 2007 or 2008, so I'm not too sure of the dates, we were relegated. Certain players were banned. The like of Victor Olonga was banned. That is some part of the politics that happened then. And Zimbabwe found itself being dropped down to Group 1C in Africa. I was now playing in Europe. I would come home twice a year, my off-season breaks, and I would always avail myself to play for the national team. We then went to Botswana to play in the Group 1C, which was against countries like Mauritius, Botswana, Zambia, countries that we're not even supposed to be playing if we were to look at the standard of rugby that we have in our country. And we won Group 1C, got promoted to Group 1B. I need you guys to understand what I'm saying. This is a journey. This is over a period of about 6 years. The following year, we played the Group 1B in Bulawayo, which we won. Unfortunately, I didn't make some of those games, but I was the interim captain then. I think was Klopas Makotose. And then we came back to we won. We came back the following year. I think it was 2009 or 2010. Went and played the group, the promotional Group 1B tournament in Uganda against Madagascar, Uganda, and who else was there? It was just the three of us. We won that tournament alongside Victoria Cup, which saw us being promoted to Group 1A, which brings us back into being able to qualify for the World Cup. We then went and played in Group 1A against Kenya, Uganda, and Tunisia. And we won that group, that Africa Cup tournament. So this all happened in a space of 6 years. And that success came from the mere fact that it was a core of guys who had stayed together for over 6 years and had built a relationship with each other and had a mentality of just saying, okay, we're not going to lose games. You get into a winning mode. People get into a winning mode and they just keep, they don't see losing as an option. And I know there's a lot of media that goes around and controversy over the current national team coach, Brendan Dawson, but hats off to Brendan Dawson. I don't think we would have never achieved any of that if he wasn't part of it. He has been a pivotal part of Zim Rugby, and he'll always be because of his passion for the country, for the sport. I think no one can doubt him or fault him on any of that. In the past, of course, if people read social media, there has been social media scandals or rumors about my relationship with him. But as a national team, as a coach, and as an individual, as a rugby person, I've got the utmost respect for him because he has been the bigger man throughout the years in terms of growing the sport. We've all had our tantrums or whatever you want to call them, but he has stuck his course. He has always been there. And personally, I respect what he has done and is doing for Zimbabwe Rugby. Took a while to hang up the boots. I actually did a comeback. When was it? In 2016, when I played for the two games. We played Kenya. And then I went to play the Hong Kong tournament. Life after rugby, to be very honest, it was long overdue for me. It hasn't been easy staying away from the field. Yeah, I mean, I started doing this, I don't remember at what age, and to just cut off, like you previously asked me, I did a stint with karate, and as soon as I retired, because then when I hung up my boots, it was like I was going at 100 k's an hour, and then I just went down to 0. I nearly had some health issues, so then went to see the doctor, and the doctor was like, "How active were you? I used to play sports. Are you still playing?" And he said no, and I said no. And I was like, you need to keep exercising. You can't go from 100 to 0. So I then took up karate. I was doing gym. I was doing CrossFit. Then I got into a new line of work as a translator and a tour guide. So I work for a company out of Cape Town and Windhoek. So I'm always on the road or on the move. So I'm using one of the languages that I speak German, so I travel throughout Africa with German tourists. I mean, being a captain is captaining a side that went on to win the Africa Cup and set a record of the most consecutive wins. When it was happening, you couldn't have a feel of it. It's only when you then step aside and you look at it from an outside point of view, you say, "Oh wow, this is what we achieved." It wasn't necessarily me. I was fortunate to lead a bunch of guys who responded to me. Maybe that was my luck, or we respected each other that much that we came together and they made my life as a captain that much easy. I mean, I played with some of the most notorious names you would ever know in sport, but when it came to doing the job, they did the job. I mean, I was lucky. I was surrounded by a bunch of very, very experienced guys, the likes of Norman Mukondiwa, Denford Ntangamira, who came later, was the captain, Tichafara Makwanya, Klopas Makotose, Jacques Leitao. These are all basically captains in their own respect, but I was surrounded by all of these players, and it made my rugby career and my Sables career that much more easier, working with people who were dedicated and who had enough passion for the sport. To sum it off, I regret nothing about my rugby career. What I do regret is not being able to help the team qualify when they went to Madagascar, I think in 2012, 13, yeah. We weren't a part of the team then anymore. That was my dream, that yes, my career had come to an end, but our dream as a group of guys who had taken the country from Group 1C to winning the Africa Cup was qualifying for the World Cup. Even if we were not going to go and play at the World Cup, leaving that opportunity there for the upcoming generation. But yeah, life has its own way of working out things. To sum it all up, it was a great Sables career of maybe 12 years. And being recognized by you guys and by the country and calling me a legend it's very humbling, and it's a great honor to actually get people to actually believe that you're a legend. One can't call himself a legend. One can't claim that status. It's people around you who classify you like that. I'm grateful, and I'm a servant of Zim Rugby and will always be. I'm branching into coaching now. I don't know if you knew, for the last 2 years, myself and Marvin Chirume have been coaching the Zimbabwe under-17 rugby team. I've gone to Craven Week, and so that's where I'm special. My life after rugby now is I'm trying to give back to the community, not necessarily just older Aryans or any rugby community. I am open, to assist or help coaching whenever anyone asks me, and if I've got the time, I'll gladly do it. So I'll call them my nephews or my sons. My brothers, I've got two sons. My brothers, I've got one son who was head boy at Prince Edward. That's my brother's son, Russell Dinha. He was head boy at Prince Edward, great rugby player. The other one is Jacob Dinha. He also played for the last Tigers team that was unbeaten. They're both different characters. My advice to whenever I speak to any young player or any one of those two is the way you handle your rugby career or the way you train or prepare for a rugby game is no different from the way you handle your life off the field. So if you find yourself not being on time for a training session, not committing fully to anything, that transpires to your life. So your rugby life, your life on the field and the way you lead your life off the field, they are very, very connected. You will find that a player who you find is disciplined on the park and is disciplined, you find he's disciplined in life. If he's punctual to training, he's going to be punctual to meetings, he's going to be punctual to interviews. A player who's iffy, is always making excuses or whatever it is, on the rugby field, will also do the same in life. So life and rugby are very well connected. And my advice to most players is don't go to rugby and treat it as a sport. Treat it as a way of life. It teaches you discipline, it teaches you teamwork, it teaches you respect, it teaches you hierarchy. So whatever you learn on the field can be applied in your life. And whatever you learn in life can be applied onto the rugby field. So they are very well connected, and I think it's sad that, it's not sad, but the world has evolved. There's social media, there's so much forms of media that these kids can look at and find inspiration, but one must find their own inspiration through whatever they are best at. So if you believe you're a rugby player and you want to take rugby as a serious professional or career option, then you have to treat it like that. It has to be a career, it has to be a profession, you have to take it seriously. You wake up, from the moment you wake up, you're thinking and you're working through the steps of being a professional. A professional does his work from 8 till he sleeps. So that's the same thing.